You've had a drink before, a cold beer after work, a glass of wine with dinner, something bubbly on New Year's. You didn't think twice about it, you just drank it. But almost nobody stops to ask the obvious question: why does that feel good? Why does a substance that is, chemically, a mild poison, one your liver has to drop everything to break down, light up your brain like a reward instead of a warning? Here's the twist. Humans didn't invent alcohol. Alcohol invented a craving in us millions of years before the first human ever existed. The pull you feel toward a drink is older than your species, older than fire, older than walking upright. So the real question isn't when humans started drinking, it's this: when did we first get drunk? And why were our bodies already built for it before we got here? Start with the substance. Ethanol, the alcohol in every drink you've ever had, is toxic. In a high enough dose, it shuts down the parts of your brain that keep you breathing. Your body treats it as an emergency. Your liver halts almost everything else to process it. So here's the paradox. If alcohol is poison, why does your brain reward you for it? Why not treat it the way it treats something rotten, with disgust? Because to your ancestors, alcohol wasn't a party. It was a signal, a scent drifting through the forest that meant one thing: food, ripe, sugar-rich, calorie-dense food. In a world where calories were the line between living and starving, your brain didn't evolve to love getting drunk. It evolved to love finding fruit. Alcohol was just the smell attached to the prize, and that wiring, the reason a drink still feels good tonight, was installed long before anyone brewed a single thing, not by humans, by evolution. The first clue is a smell. Ethanol is a light molecule. It evaporates fast and rides the wind, which makes it one of the best long-distance signals in a rainforest. When fruit ripens and its sugars start to ferment, it releases that scent. Any animal that could detect it could find the richest food before anything else did. In 2000, Robert Dudley, a professor of integrative biology at the University of California, Berkeley, proposed an idea he called the drunken monkey hypothesis. His argument: our attraction to alcohol isn't a modern flaw, it's an inheritance, a sensory bias handed down from fruit-eating primate ancestors who followed the smell of fermentation to survive. To them, alcohol meant calories. The ones who chased that scent ate better, lived longer, and had more offspring. For years, it was just a theory. Dudley couldn't prove wild primates actually sought out and processed alcohol. Then the proof arrived. In a 2025 study in the journal Science Advances, Dudley and his colleagues measured the ethanol in fruit eaten by wild chimpanzees in the Ivory Coast and found a chimp's normal daily diet delivers roughly the equivalent of 1 to 2 human drinks every single day, not by accident, just as part of being a fruit-eating ape. But a craving is only half the story. Wanting alcohol is useless if your body can't handle it, and this is where it gets remarkable. In 2014, Matthew Carrigan, a biologist at Santa Fe College in Florida, did something that sounds like science fiction. He resurrected the past. Using a technique called paleogenetics, his team reconstructed an ancient enzyme, ADH4, the very first enzyme that touches alcohol when it enters your body, from points stretching back nearly 70 million years of primate evolution. Then they rebuilt those ancient enzymes in the lab and tested them. They found a single mutation roughly 10 million years ago that made our ancestors' version of that enzyme about 40 times better at breaking down ethanol. In evolutionary terms, almost overnight, our ancestors went from barely tolerating alcohol to processing it efficiently. And the timing is the punchline. That mutation shows up right as our ancestors were climbing down from the trees and spending more time on the ground, where fallen fruit sits, rots, and ferments on the forest floor. The body adapted to the drink long before the drink was ever poured. At the genetic level, you are built to handle alcohol. That's not a metaphor. It's a 10 million-year-old upgrade you're still running. Genes and enzymes tell you what the body could do. They don't tell you what it was like to be there. Picture a small group of apes, your distant ancestors, moving across the floor of a tropical forest in Africa, maybe 8 million years ago. The dry season has been brutal. The easy fruit up in the branches is gone. They're hungry, and hunger makes them bold. One of them catches a scent, sharp, sweet, faintly sour, rising from a hollow at the base of a tree where fallen fruit has been sitting for days, gathering warmth, gathering yeast. To us, that smell would say spoiled. To her, it says food. She digs in. The fruit is soft, half liquid, carrying a buzz of ethanol she has no word for and no need to understand. Her body just knows. Calories, survival. She eats until she's full, and a warm looseness spreads through her that she never thinks to question. She isn't drunk in any way she'd recognize. She's just been rewarded by a brain that that evolved to make finding this exact meal feel good. Multiply that one moment across millions of years and countless generations, and you get us, a species that walks into a room, catches the smell of fermentation, and feels, somewhere below thought, that something good is close. For millions of years, that was the whole story. Alcohol was something you stumbled onto by accident, a side effect of ripe fruit. And then, sometime in the last 20,000 years, humans did something no animal had ever done. They stopped waiting for fermentation to happen and started making it happen. And that may have changed the course of civilization itself. For a long time, the story went like this. Humans settled down, invented farming, grew grain for bread, and only later realized grain could be brewed. Beer was an afterthought, a happy accident of agriculture. Some researchers now think it was the other way around. In 2018, Li Liu, an archaeologist at Stanford University, analyzed 13,000-year-old stone mortars from a cave called Rakafet in what is now Israel. They belonged to the Natufians, hunter-gatherers who hadn't yet invented farming. Inside the mortars, Liu's team found the residue of brewed cereal beer, 13,000 years old, made by people still foraging, still burying their dead in that very cave. Apparently, brewing beer for funerals and feasts. Sit with what that means. This beer predates farming, which feeds a genuinely radical idea some archaeologists take seriously, that humans may have first domesticated grain not to make bread, but to make beer, that the thirst for a drink, the ritual, the buzz, the togetherness of it may have been one of the sparks that pulled our species out of foraging and into farming. We might live in cities today partly because our ancestors wanted a drink. Once it started, it never stopped. In China, at a Neolithic village called Jiahu, molecular archaeologist Patrick McGovern of the University of Pennsylvania identified the oldest chemically confirmed alcoholic drink in the world, a roughly 9,000-year-old blend of rice, honey, and fruit brewed in clay jars. From there, alcohol didn't just spread, it built things. The ancient Sumerians worshipped a goddess of beer and left behind a hymn that doubles as a brewing recipe. The Egyptians paid the laborers who raised the pyramids partly in beer, daily rations, thousands of years before money, as we'd recognize it. In medieval Europe, monasteries became engines of brewing, monks perfecting the craft over centuries, while weak, small beer was an everyday drink for men, women, and children alike. And in 1700s London, cheap gin flooded the city so fast, it sparked a full-blown crisis. The Gin Craze, immortalized in Hogarth's engraving of a mother too drunk to notice her baby slipping from her arms. Parliament passed law after law trying to contain it. Beer as currency, wine as sacrament, spirits as chaos. For thousands of years, whoever controlled alcohol touched everything: religion, economy, law, war. A drink your ancestors first found rotting on a forest floor became one of the load-bearing pillars of human civilization. And now it's everywhere. Effortless. A drink is a tap on a phone, a shelf in every store, cheaper, stronger, and more available than at any point in human history. But your brain is still running the old program. When you drink, alcohol reaches deep into your brain's reward system and floods it with dopamine, the same chemical your ancestors were paid for finding rare, life-saving calories in the forest. Your brain can't tell the difference between a hard-won meal and a bottle you bought in 30 seconds. It just registers the signal it was built for. This is good. Find more of it. That's the trap buried in the whole story. The craving was designed for a world where alcohol was rare, weak, and attached to food you had to work for. It was never designed for a world where you can drink until it hurts, whenever you want, as strong as you like. The same reward system that kept your ancestors alive is the one that can pull a person under today. Same wiring, opposite world. Here's the strange truth to leave you with. Nobody taught you to like this. The first time an ancestor of yours caught the scent of fermenting fruit and felt drawn to it. The story of every toast, every celebration, every bar and vineyard and quiet drink at the end of a long day had already begun. You never started this. You just inherited the thirst. If you made it this far, this channel was built for you. We dig into the hidden history behind the ordinary things you do every single day, one story a week. Subscribing is free, and it tells YouTube to put videos like this in front of more people like you. And if alcohol was the first thing humans got hooked on, it wasn't the last. Next time, when did humans first start drinking coffee, and why couldn't they stop? See you then.